Okay. Thank you everyone for attending today's training on getting started with OER, Open Education Resources. We're here with Ryan Otto today. And along with this topic and other topics, we have recorded, and you'll have the option of viewing those later. Be sure to moderate your microphone if you haven't already, and we'll use the chat feature at the bottom to ask questions, and we'll have those recorded as well. And I'll provide some links to our most common resources as we get started, and at the end, as on chat, if people join in later, they won't see the chats at the beginning, so we'll add those at the end. Again, if you're brand new to online teaching, we recommend that you visit and explore the resources, such as the K-State Keep Teaching website at ksu.edu/keepteaching. The Preparing and Planning page under the Remote Teaching and Learning Resources tab has a checklist of steps to get you started. And those home pages also have checklists for students and faculty. So I'll provide that in the checkbox later as we transition. And again, just if people have questions in general, they can contact our Global Campus Instructional Design email at gcid@kstate.edu. And of course, our IT help desk at helpdesk@ksu.edu or by phone at 785-532-7722. And again, I'm going to put those right into the checkbox here in a second. Again, please mute your microphone and use the chat feature at the bottom. And I'll turn this over to you, Ryan. Have a good session.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm excited. All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Otto. I am the Scholarly Communication librarian, or at least one of them for K-State Libraries. And I'm excited to talk to you all today about getting started with open educational resources, something that's very near and dear to my heart. All right, I'm going to post something in chat really quick. It's going to be a link to a sort of toolkit for OER. In addition to sharing out these slides, this toolkit is going to be a great resource if you're interested about diving deeper into what OER means, finding your own OER, or even making your own OER. Okay, so let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. There we go. So the office that I'm in, also my colleague Emily Finch is going to be on the call too, and she's also a member of the Center for the Advancement of Digital Scholarship, or as we affectionately like to call it, CADS. If you have any questions following today's presentation, or if you just want to reach out, discuss really anything of what we're going over today, yeah, just reach out to cads@ksu.edu. We do a number of things within the center as a part of K-State Libraries. Copyright, as we transition to an online teaching environment, if you have any sort of copyright information questions, we'd be happy to field those, or at least point you in the right direction. But yeah, one of the major aspects of what we do is focusing on open. And we'll get into more what open means in just a little bit, but it's a very powerful concept. But for, in terms of OER, we help manage the Textbooks 2.0 or the Open Alternative Textbook Initiative. Just some key figures here. Out of a $500,000 total investment so far, we've saved K-State students about $5 million to date. And just last year, and for last fiscal year, that figure was 1.57 million alone. And just last year as well, over 17,000 textbooks not purchased by our students. OER has a multiplying effect. Once you create it, once you have it in place, the continuity is the thing that that's so powerful, not only for your own class, but being able to share that out and making tremendous impacts all over the world. Okay, so getting some additional figures here. For the Open Alternative Textbook Initiative, the high cost of commercial print textbooks is a major concern for students and families. This translates into 72% of K-State students did not purchase or rent required textbooks for the spring 2019 semester, and 20% of K-State students did not purchase 3 or more required textbooks in spring 2019. 43% reported skipping meals, 31% reported taking fewer courses, and 30% reported foregoing a trip home. The cost of textbooks is a major hurdle for our students. We're going to be talking a lot about the context of why it's the sharing potential just in the online learning environment. But yeah, even outside and once we transition back to on-site, it's going to be important. And this is all leading up to students and universities benefit. There's no difference in learning efficiency between open and commercial textbooks. And then 29% reported lower withdrawal rate for courses with open textbooks. Really cool stuff. I'm going to make sure that I have chat. One sec. Okay, there we go. Just want to keep an eye on things. All right, so why are textbooks so high? Well, that's a great question. This is going to be the Consumer Price Index starting in 1998. You can see TVs all the way down here, new cars, household furnishings, and we're creeping up into the positives, healthcare services, which we all know and love, and then all the way up here, college textbooks. But you see, right here in this dip, this is where things started to improve. And this is really where OER took hold, and it's stabilizing the textbook market. There's some things coming in that are in play that the textbook publishers are trying to push through in terms of new models, and try to get us in the system for a little bit longer. But you can see that open textbooks are having a sizable impact. Okay. So what is OER? Open educational resources are teaching and learning research materials in any medium, digital or otherwise, that reside in the public domain or have been released under what's called an open license. We'll go over the mechanics of those in just a little bit. But open licenses that permit no cost access, use, adaptation, redistribution by others with no or limited restrictions. And that's the Hewlett definition. We like to focus on the 5 R's, and that is retain, reuse, revise, and remix and redistribute. That's the whole package that comes along with an open license. We'll go over copyright in just a little bit, but let's go ahead and go back. If we envision copyright as a toll booth of sorts, you can control who goes through that toll booth. An open licenses just basically says like, hey, as long as you give me credit, go for it. No reason to stop and pay the toll. Go do what you want with content and build upon it. Okay, the benefits: free online access, customizable, more academic, freedom for faculty, day 1 course access, perpetual access, equal access, which of course focuses on social justice, and student success. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here, get everyone, take the temperature for a second. Any thoughts, any questions? Okay, so the next is going to be pretty dry, and we're going to go over one of my favorite topics, copyright. The reason we're going over this is because this really sets the foundation of when we talk about open. We're not going to do a whole thing. It's just going to be very, very quick in covering the basics. Okay, first things first. Copyright is automatic. As long as it meets a certain threshold of requirements, you don't have to do anything. It is recommended if you are looking to protect your work to a larger extent, look into registering your copyright. It affords you additional protections, but yeah, as long as something is original, creative, and fixed in a tangible medium of expression, that has copyright in it. So what's protected? Literature, music, photography, tons more of other creative expression. And what we mean by a fixed tangible medium expression, it could be a piece of paper, it could be recorded audio, video, dry erase board, etc. It's the number of mediums that are considered fixed is pretty sizable. Okay. So we're going to go over a series of hypotheticals really quickly. I know it's all fun stuff. So the first one, Amanda is teaching a course about Milton. She prepares lecture outlines and then extemporizes them in class. Does copyright cover what Amanda says in class? Anyone want to take a guess? Anyone want to put their answer in chat of whether or not they think this is copyrightable? Moderators, please, yeah, if you want to chime in too, if you have the answer, feel free. Okay. Okay, so we have Andrea, great. Yes, there are words in her lecture. She cannot be recorded without permission. Okay, the recorded, right. Well, okay, so breaking this down a little bit, we're going back to the three main, like the requirements. So we have original, creative, and then fixed. So she prepares lecture outlines and then extemporizes them. So there's no, yeah, the recording without permission is more, it's not connected to copyright. You bring up a really good point. But that's a separate law. And that feeds more into privacy concerns. But yeah, but this feeds in, especially if the recording is put online and sent to home country. Okay. Yeah. Andrea, are you more talking about like export controls, that sort of thing?
Andrea, I think since we do have a small room, if you want to unmute, if that would be easier, you're welcome to do that.
Okay, great. Thanks for elaborating for export controls.
Sure. I guess my concern is that I teach international students, and often our syllabus will end up in another country with our, that keeps people from coming here for school. So that's why I was saying you really shouldn't record your teacher without their permission.
Absolutely. You are 100% right about that. And especially, as we're talking about copyright, we do recommend putting some sort of statement on your syllabi, just saying like, hey, this is copyrighted. I don't want to see this up on any, please don't share this. This is my work. But yeah, for the export controls, yeah, but we would have to differentiate between privacy and then copyright. And so yes, it is illegal to record somebody without permission and especially share that, but that's going to be a little bit different than copyright. But this brings up the next hypothetical. Amanda arranged to have a particular class session recorded so that absent students could watch it later. Does copyright cover what Amanda says in class? In this case, yes, copyright does apply. So this is a scenario where Amanda is going to be the one recording, and she's going to be the one that has copyright of that because it is not only original and creative, but now it's fixed in that recorded session. Okay. The next one, Bruce, a university staff member who advises students applying graduate school, creates a list of all university faculty that includes their first and last names, any graduate degrees that they have earned, and the institutions from which they earned those degrees. He organizes the list alphabetically according to the degree granting institution. Does copyright cover Bruce's list? I'm just going to give everyone the answer. So going back into that list, something has to be original, creative, and then fixed. This is definitely fixed in the tangible medium. But in terms of originality and creativity, this is really data. This isn't something that's, there's not a lot of creativity that involves in organizing a list in such a fashion. And so in this particular case, like, yeah, somebody could put a lot of work into creating something that is very factual, very useful, but being useful is different than copyrightability. So in this case, copyright would not apply to Bruce's list. The last little thing I want to touch on, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but what elements of this cookbook page below are covered by copyright? Oh, just for the sake of time, I'm just going to just go over the major elements here. So, as we mentioned, originality, creativity. There's not a lot of originality and creativity that goes into listing ingredients. The expression is the thing that we have to pay attention to. It's the expression of that data. So, in terms of the directions, may not have a lot of creativity here, but the photos here. This deals with creativity, originality, as well as expression. So yeah, out of all of this, the directions may have a little bit of copyright, but not much. But then the photos are definitely going to be copyrightable. Okay. The next section, we usually do a whole outline of this. We go through all the steps and figuring out like steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 of what we call the framework for analyzing any sort of U.S. copyright question. And the steps are, does it have copyright protection? Does it have an existing license that covers my use? Can I rely on an exception such as fair use? And do I need to seek permission or purchase a license? So 1, 2, 3, and 4, it's not an involved process, but there are steps that you should know. We're not going to go over it, or I should say we're not going to go into too much detail, but I just want to have this in the back of your minds. This is going to be the framework which we're going to be using and explaining a few things. Okay, next part, who holds copyright? So who holds copyright? Have they already made a license which permits their use? So the first holder of copyright is the author, the creators of the work, or in some cases, the creator's employer, if the work is made for hire. If you have any questions about this and what you create for K-State, whether or not that's yours or the university's, K-State policies will shine some light on this, and we can point you in that direction if you're interested. But authors can transfer or license any of their exclusive rights. So you have something, you've created something awesome. You can do what you want with what you create. You have the rights to something, therefore you can give it away. So authors can transfer, license any of their exclusive rights, including portions of those rights. Copyrights can also be passed by operational law, probate, bankruptcy, corporate dissolution, all that fun stuff. So does transferring a physical object transfer copyright onto that object? The answer to this is no. This is how libraries work, interestingly enough. So libraries don't own the copyright of items. We instead we either license content or we have the physical version and then loan that out to our users. Here's the crux. So Creative Commons licenses. So public licenses, the rights holder is the licensor and everybody else is the licensee. CC licenses last until the work enters public domain at the end of the copyright term, unless termination rights are exercised. Okay. We're done with the copyright, but hopefully that sets kind of a quick and dirty foundation for what we're going to be talking about. Okay. So for Creative Commons, these are the open licenses that I was referring to earlier. So on the left here, we have all rights reserved, meaning we're not giving anything away. We have all of our rights and we're keeping them close in order to charge somebody for something. And then for CC, some rights reserved. We're retaining a small portion of those rights, but sharing the rest. If you all have, for those who publish, open access is deeply ingrained in the traditional article publishing process as well. So what we see here is going to be the paywalled pay to read, all rights reserved, Author might have author rights to exercise, but for the most part, it's like Elsevier has copyright of this, and they will defend it. The next slide. Okay, now we have a Creative Commons license, so some rights reserved. Through CC BY, we can share, copy, redistribute material in any medium or format, adapt, remix, transform, build upon the material for any purpose, even commercially. This is where the power of sharing comes into play. Okay. So for Creative Commons, there's going to be 4 license elements: CC BY, non-commercial, share alike, and non-derivative. And these different elements can be mixed and matched to create different licenses. And so there's 6 different licenses in total. So we have CC BY, share alike, CC BY non-commercial, CC BY non-derivative. Then we have non-commercial, share alike, non-commercial, non-derivative. These are going to be important when you're looking at OER or any materials out there. If it has these licenses on it, be very careful of what they say, because you will need to pay attention to the specific rules attached. But for the most part, these are very open. So for the CC BY, as long as you give attribution, you're free to use and share. Our last hypothetical. Helen is a professional photographer. She supports herself by taking family portraits. She is also a local history buff and takes high quality photographs of local historic places in her spare time. Last March, she photographed an early 20th century historic bridge and uploaded the photo to Flickr under Creative Commons attribution non-commercial license. Under which of the following circumstances would you use Helen's video or photo? Why or why not? So, would we use it in a video lecture for an online course about early 20th century architecture, on the cover of a local atlas, which you plan to sell and make a profit, on the website of a local history? Andrea or anyone else want to go ahead and take a guess?
I'm guessing you don't use it on the cover of an atlas you're going to sell.
Bingo. The non-commercial, as long as you don't make a profit off of something, what you can use a non-commercial license for is you can take it to FedEx and saying like, hey, I want so many copies. So even though FedEx or UPS or whatever copy store you're using, they can make a profit off of selling the copies to you, but you as the licensor, you're the one who is exercising that non-commercial part of it. So as long as you personally are not selling these copies, you're good. Okay. The other part, just to touch on briefly, between public domain and for public domain mark and CC0, there are Creative Commons licenses that allows folks to push their content into the public domain. So which means like, I don't reserve any rights, have at it. Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop here, take the temperature before we go into the next section about finding OER. All right. I realized about halfway through as I was getting into copyright, it's like, yeah, I think I might be talking too fast. So decided to slow it down a bit. So please catch me or let me know if I'm starting to get carried away. Okay. There's tons of resources out there and to find open educational resources. The Open Textbook Library, is going to be a national one. Berlo is done by, I think, folks in California. Open SUNY, LibreText is also national. So any combination of regional and national and sometimes international repositories, there's a lot of stuff out there. This is going to be an example of Open Oregon. OpenStax, which is run out of Rice University. LibreText, which is one of my personal favorites. And then even for vocational training, Skills Commons. All right, so we're going to stop here and let's go ahead and start diving into some of these. Okay, can everyone see my see the screen? Okay, great. Supporters, technology, subjects. Let's go ahead and do math. These are already pre-done open educational resources. So these are fully published materials which you can take and start building upon. So if you want to say like, hey, pre-algebra, cool. As ISBN, all the official information, the license, then you can hop right into table of contents, as well as instructor resources. So, one of the things to consider in terms of open educational resources, a lot of times, like they may have one piece, like let's say if you're trying to have an entire course shell, OER might just be one little part of it, or there may be multiple pieces that you can start combining together in order to create that full course. So the book is only a part of it. It's coming to it's the more and more that's getting released, you're able to find more complete courses. But just keep in mind that you might be able to find one really good resource, which is the book, and then other good course resources on another site, and then combine them both together as long as they're open licenses. Okay. All right, so talking about full course shells. LibreText is run out of UC Davis. It is now in process of becoming its own nonprofit. But let's go ahead and start exploring the libraries. Biology. So we can explore what's on the bookshelves. Introduction to General Biology, Cell Biology, Genetics, Human Biology, Microbiology. So each of these subcategories might have their own books associated with this. So it really helps to just dig and see what's going to be available for your particular field. Oops. Let's get that to the bottom. Okay. And then Merlot. So Andrea, what's your field? Just to throw out an example. What would you like to search for if you're searching for OER?
Sorry, I might have muted people back. Yeah, I did that. Sorry, I muted you back.
That's okay. I teach English to international students, and I teach a business communications course. So let's look at business communications.
All right. Nice. Looks like we have quite a few options here. Business management, go to material. So good, something to keep in mind about a lot of these repositories. These are just going to be, they're going to have records of where to access the material. So go to material, yes, leaving Merlot, boom. Oh, interesting. Even though they call it OER or an open textbook, it may not be.
Well, $8.99 is still a lot cheaper than what my students are paying for my textbook now.
Right, exactly. So this brings up a really good point. So not everything out there, like something might be low cost, but in order to be OER, we're really looking for those open licenses, those things that allow for mass sharing. Right. Oh, Digital Commons Network. Okay, let's try this one just out of curiosity. See if this one gives us a better one. Must be logged in order to view this item. Aw. That's so weird. It has a Creative Commons license, so why doesn't... Okay. Business communication for success. Boom. So we, instead of going through Merlot, we're now at a different repository, the Expo, or the Open Textbook Library. K-State is a part of the Open Textbook Network, which runs Open Textbook Library.
Okay.
So yeah, let's go multiple formats. Ooh, this leads into something that we'll talk about later, which is Pressbooks. So Pressbooks is something that we have here at K-State as well, but this is University of Michigan or Minnesota. Minnesota Libraries, there we go. And this is a open textbook authoring platform, so we can read the book and hop right in. Effective business communication, delivering your message. Each chapter ready to go. And so Pressbooks is like students would be able to directly hop into the site and start using it, or if they would need to go ahead and get a download copy. Some of our students are going to be in rural areas with possibly not great internet connectivity. So that download option is really good. All right, so I'm glad we found some good examples. And then for the mega search, if you really want to get, like what a really good number of results, Oasis is going to be a good place to go there. Okay. So Google, strangely enough, is a really good way to find open content. You might not be able to find open educational resources, but in terms of photos, in terms of some other items, you can search for usage rights. Let me demonstrate that really quickly. Okay, let's go to Google Images. Cats. All right, very cute. Aw, I need this. But we can go to Tools, Usage Rights, labeled for non-commercial reuse. There you go. These are tons of cat photos now that have either in the public domain or openly licensed. So we can go to Wikipedia or wherever it's located, and we can track down the actual license of this. Yep, Creative Commons. Going to the Creative Commons website also has a search function built into there as well, if you're interested. We've already gone over Open Textbook Library, highly recommended as a place to search for OER. Yeah, it's really good. Okay, stopping once again just to take the temperature. All right. So this is going to be a modified version of that framework that we went over before. So instead of going into, can I rely on an exception such as fair use? Do I need to seek permissions or purchase a license? We don't have to worry about that in terms of if we find something with an open license, we can skip steps 3 and 4. Okay. Okay. No worries, Andrea. I'll just go on for the recording. Okay. So help customizing creating OER. There are resources out there that should be in your toolkit, but a guide to making, so Rebus Community is a great nonprofit that has put out some really good resources on how to create OER. Modifying an open textbook, which you need to know. This is put about open by Open Textbook Network. These are some big names within the OER community. And then finally, the Rebus Guide to Publishing Open Textbooks so far. So these are really good resources. This is Open Oregon. We're getting into Pressbooks. So Pressbooks can integrate and has a lot of different options for it. This is why it's such a powerful tool. If you're interested about using it here in K-State, please reach out to CADS. We're happy to try to get that set up for you. And it'll just point you in the right direction in terms of training and creating your project. Open Pedagogy is going to be another site, Open Pedagogy Notebook. All right, and that's all I have. So if Andrea is already away, then she probably doesn't have any questions right now. Okay.
Really appreciate your time, Ryan. That was great. And we will be posting a link to these recordings for others who were not able to be here today.
Okay, great. All right, thanks so much. And just to reiterate, please reach out if you have any questions.
Yes, thanks again, Ryan. Really appreciate it. Great examples. Again, everyone, I think all the links are there within chat. I don't think anyone joined afterwards, so I don't think I'll repost those, if that's okay.
All right.
Again, just if you have questions in general, you can reach out to GCID at kstate.edu, and of course the help desk at kstate.edu. And again, just keep asking questions, and we're all in this together. So thank you, everyone. And thanks again, Ryan.
Thanks all. Have a great day.
Thank you,
Okay, Trina.
Ryan.